during this time. And out of the Common English Version, it reads, "The tax collectors and sinners gathered around Jesus to listen to him. And the Pharisees and the legal experts were grumbling, saying, this man welcomes sinners and eats with them." So here's a division already in what's going on. Christ welcomed everybody to the table when he was talking in lessons. But yet here are these people. The Bible tells us they're tax collectors and sinners. They're the modern day people who believe it's okay to maybe bend the rules a little bit. Or, it's okay if you tell a little white lie. But they're also people that didn't care about anybody else. They wanted to live their lives how they lived it, and it didn't matter how it impacted anybody. But there's a flip side to that coin. The Pharisees and the Sadducees, the scribes, they were there too to listen to Christ. The religious people were there to listen to him also. The people that believed that they knew the law better than anybody else. So much so that they would tell you they live by the law. They would tell you what the law is. And then they would tell you not only you're not living by it, but this is how you should be living by it. These are the people that are in the midst of Christ as he's sharing this story. These people are sitting around the table with the 12. As Christ said these words in the beginning, we're going to look at the first third of this, at this younger brother and what he does. Now in 11 it says, Jesus said, a certain man and his 2 sons, the younger one said to the father, "Father, give me my share of your inheritance," or my inheritance. And then the father divided his estate between them. Let's stop right there. The inheritance that this young man wanted, he went to his father and asked for it. Well, how do you get your inheritance? Does anybody care to answer that? How do you get your inheritance from your father or your mother? Typically after they die, right? So this young man just told his father, "I wish you were dead. So much so that I want what you say is mine." That's what this young man just did. But here's the crazy part of those first couple of verses. The father said, okay, and divided it. Now, back in this time, it is divided like this because, remember, these are most likely Jewish family that they're talking about. So when the father divides his share, the first 2/3 go to the oldest son. And then half to the next, and half to the next. So when the father divided their inheritance, he gave the first 2/3 to his oldest son, and he gave the last third to his youngest boy, who afterward gathered everything together and took a trip to a land far away. There he wasted his wealth through extravagant living. This young man hopped a flight to Vegas and was living the high life, staying in the penthouse, going to all the shows, gambling on the floor, hanging out with the high rollers. I can imagine that even Charlie Sheen was like, "Hey, hold up, dude, calm down. Okay? There's way more to life than this. You need to relax. Take it easy." Anybody who knows Charlie Sheen or what he was all about, he kind of lives the extravagant life. But here's where it gets interesting for the younger son. Once his money was gone, there arose a severe shortage of food in this country. and he became in need. He hired himself out to a citizen of this country who sent him into the field to feed pigs. Wait a minute. This is a little Jewish boy. I don't believe in being in the presence of swine, let alone feeding them. But he was so hungry and such in need that he went to work and he fed the swine, even though he wasn't given anything to eat. Well, then he comes to his senses and he tells himself, how many of my father's hands have more than enough food, but I am starving to death. So I will get up and I will go to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer deserved to be called your son. Take me in as your hired hand so I can go. So he gets up and he goes to his father. So he wakes up as he's sitting there and he says, Dad takes better care of himself than this guy does. Take care of me. But now see, he's already went to his father and he basically told his father earlier, I wish you were dead. Give me my inheritance. So this is a big turning point for this young man. He realizes that he has to humble himself and go back to his father. Well, how will his father take him? Will his father be angry? His father slam the door in his face? Will he tell him to get out of here? These are all the things that he thought about as he rose up and he went forth to talk to his dad. Because he knew that, maybe Dad won't take him back as a son, but maybe he can hire him in as a hand in the field. He may not have a place to live. Maybe he can stay in the city somewhere. These are things that are running through this young man's mind. But he can't take it anymore, so he gets up and he goes to his father. Now here's the second part of the story. While he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was moved with compassion. His father ran to him, hugged him, and kissed him. Then his son said, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. There is his rehearsed apology. So he's now humbled himself in front of his father, and he says, Father, I have sinned against heaven and earth, and I'm sorry. I no longer deserve to be called your son. But the father said to his servant, quickly, bring out my best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. And fetch the fattened calf and slaughter it. We must celebrate with a feast, because this son of mine was dead and has come back to life. He was lost and was found. So here's this son. And he's apologizing. And there's tears probably rolling down his face. And he's saying, Father, forgive me. But the whole time, because his father's got him in an embrace, the father doesn't hear his words. He's yelling past him to the servant, saying, go, bring the robe, bring the ring, bring the feet. My son is home. The father doesn't care what he's done. The father's happy that he's back. And then we get to the third part of the story. The elder son. Now his older son was in the field, coming in from the field. As he approached the house, he heard music and dancing. He called to one of the servants, asking, what's going on? The servant replied, your brother has arrived. Your father has slaughtered the fattened calf, and because he receives his son back safe and sound. And the older son was frustrated and didn't want to enter. The son was mad. And he has a right to be mad, right? The whole time while his younger brother was off gallivanting across the countryside, spending his entire inheritance, the younger son was there in the fields, toiling day in and day out, taking care of the house, never leaving his father's side. The father goes out to him, and when the the son sees his father, he tells him, "Look, I have served you all these years." So the son is upset, and he tells him, "Look, I've served you all these years. I've never disobeyed your instructions, yet you've never given me as much as a young goat so I can go celebrate with my friends. When this son of yours returns, after gobbling up your inheritance and your estate, you slaughter the fattened calf for him." The son's mad. So mad. He's mad at his brother. He's mad at his father. He's just mad. So much so that instead of coming to his father and telling his father, "I would like to talk to you. My heart hurts," he tells him, "Look." He gets angry with him because he won't even get a young goat, but yet they slaughtered the fat calf. And then his father says these words, and these words should ring so joyfully, at least in my ears. It says, the father says, "Son, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours." Remember, he had given his sons their estate. So everything the father still owns is actually the oldest son's. But we have to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and then is alive. He was lost and is found. So now the question is this: which brother are you? Are you the younger brother that takes off and goes and have fun and doesn't care about what's going on at home? Or are you the older brother who's always been at home doing exactly what your father wants you to do, and you still get upset? Well, let's enlighten it like this. The younger brother is those people outside of these doors, outside of our church, outside of the Christian faith. That is our younger brother. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about those people who don't believe like we believe, that